If you're planning to go cruising, eventually you'll come to the topic of dinghy security, how to keep the dinghy, its outboard, and probably its fuel tank from going missing or getting stolen. And there is some tech to help you out. When I'm living on my boat and all my travels, the only place I ever felt the need to lock the dinghy up was in Miami because the dock has a lot of foot traffic. And for that, I used a 15-foot length of chain and a padlock. Through the Bahamas, I never really felt threatened because the punishment for theft in the Bahamas from a tourist is so steep that it was extremely rare for a dinghy to be stolen. But nonetheless, a length of chain was usually enough to give me good peace of mind. But what's to stop a would-be thief from just stealing the outboard, for instance? Outboards are a very hot commodity in the tropics, especially nice ones, and there are some things that I've seen people do to prevent theft. I've seen brand new outboards spray painted to look older and less desirable, and of course be harder to sell on the black market. But locking the outboard to the dinghy is an excellent step to stop it from getting stolen. It's a lot harder to walk off with a 300-pound rib than it is with a 75-pound outboard. I made a short video a while back for Practical Sailor that shows what I use to lock my outboard to my dinghy. Here it is. Hey, you guys want to talk about outboard locks? I love this thing. Let me show you how it works. It's just a piece of pipe that a machine shop cut a slit into with a hole in it for a long shank padlock to fit. It works great. The only downside is it rattles when the motor's revved up. So I usually jam a big sponge in there to keep it quiet while I'm speeding along. And that sponge doubles as what I use to keep the dinghy floor dry. Searching for dinghy locks or outboard locks on Amazon didn't reveal me any newer commercial products better than what I already use, so I'm going to stick with my piece of pipe. But a good outboard lock won't stop somebody from stealing the whole dinghy, or the more likely event, the dinghy getting off its painter and going for a trip in the night all by itself. When I was down south, almost every morning on the net, someone would come on and alert everyone to their missing dinghy. It was almost always a dinghy that got away from its mothership due to a bad cleat hitch or a broken line or some sort of fastener. Oftentimes, after a night of gallivanting around the town, the owner would get back to the boat in the dark and fail to secure the dinghy well enough. And then a gale would come through at 3 o'clock in the morning and all the loosely secured dinghies would go missing. The next few hours in the morning would be spent with all the other cruisers calling in dinghy sightings, and just about every time the dinghy would be found somewhere downwind of where it went missing. But sometimes it wouldn't be found, and the tech world has some solutions for that if you're willing to pay for them. We're talking about GPS, of course, and the first thing that might come to mind for you is an Apple Airtag. These little cheap AirTags can be bought and stuck on something so that you can find it later, like your keys, or people often put them in luggage before they get on an airplane. There are countless tales of people finding their lost luggage 3 states over because they tracked it with an AirTag that they placed in the bag. But AirTags have some drawbacks. An AirTag does not have its own uplink to the internet to report its position. Instead, it relies on nearby iPhones or Apple products to do the reporting for it. If the AirTag is not physically near any Apple devices, it won't upload its position, so you'll never find it. Now, of course, finding a place on this planet that's far away from any Apple devices is near impossible these days, but that leads to another problem. To prevent AirTags from being used for nefarious purposes, when the AirTag uses a nearby iPhone or Apple device to upload its position, it alerts that device. So if a thief steals your dinghy and they happen to have an Apple device, they'll immediately be made aware of your secret AirTag, and then they can easily look for it and throw it overboard. So you're better off with some kind of standalone device that has its own uplink to the internet and doesn't tell anybody nearby that it's hidden in your dinghy, a secret device. I was researching GPS trackers like that and I came across a Cruising World article that talks about this one, and I had to go find it. On Amazon, you can buy the Air, Land, and Sea tracker for just $10. This seems like this product is sort of priced at a loss leading category so that they can get you to sign up for their service, but more on that in a minute. This hockey puck sized device for $10 has its own GPS computer built in and will alert the internet to its location every 3 minutes without telling anyone nearby that it's doing it. So there's no way for a thief to know that this thing's in your dinghy. It charges with a USB-C and then you can hide it somewhere on board. Also, they sell a 12-volt wiring kit for this thing. So if you have a battery in the dinghy because you have electric start, you can wire it right to the battery, never have to worry about charging it. Now, all this seems too good to be true. $10 for a GPS global positioning system that reports your dinghy's location right to your phone. And yes, it kind of is too good to be true because you have to subscribe to their service for this hockey puck thing to work. That service is $20 a month on the month-to-month package, or $10 a month if you sign up for 2 years. Now, when you consider the stolen dinghy, which are sometimes held for ransom, usually $500 payable to the thief who stole it for the return of your dinghy, or the prospect of having to buy a whole new dinghy, which are expensive enough, but while in the tropics, they're even more expensive. $20 a month is actually pretty good. And if you'll be cruising for 2 years or more, just get the contract and pay $10 a month. The tracker is so good that when you load the app on your phone, you'll be able to find it very accurately with its upload ping refreshing every 3 minutes. And it doesn't use cell towers or Wi-Fi or any other nearby devices. It has its own GPS chip that sends its location right to satellites. So it should work just about anywhere on the planet without alerting anybody nearby. Just you and the app on your phone. Now, this is all pretty amazing. I think I would create some kind of mount for the tracker to live hidden somewhere up in the bow of my dinghy that nobody would ever find it, and then plan to charge it up every week or so. My dinghy isn't fancy, so it doesn't have an onboard battery, so I'd have to remember to charge it, and if you forget, it's kind of all for nothing. And if the dinghy goes missing, I'd have to find it fast enough before the tracker dies. Now, there's not really any provision here for how to get your dinghy back once you know where it is. You'd have to confront the thieves. Once it's been stolen, I think you'd probably call law enforcement and arrange for them to help you out. And usually they will, because tourists on sailboats spend a lot of money in town, so the police tend to be pretty helpful. But more often than not, the dinghy wasn't actually a victim of theft. Usually, and almost always in my experience, it's actually blown away in the night. So tracking it to some cove nearby washed up on the beach is a much more likely scenario. And imagine the peace of mind waking up knowing your dinghy's missing and then loading the app on your phone and seeing exactly where it is. What do you guys think? Is $20 a month worth it? I think so for me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you learned anything or found it helpful, and subscribe to the channel for more videos. I'll see you guys next time.